Okay, so we're live now.
Okay. So I'm Paige Dutel.
I'm Shay Munns.
And I'm Susie Trepanier.
So I said that I would lead because I think it's my turn.
Okay, perfect.
So the first question was, how has your understanding and perception increased on the process of international policy and law? And I don't know, I guess my answer is just pretty general because I guess I don't have a lot of knowledge on it at all.
Yeah.
So I was able just to get a lot of information and I guess like insight about how it kind of works and people go about it. So I don't know, it was eye opening. How about for you guys?
I was the same way because I mean, I kind of knew a general, like how the laws are made, but I didn't even know about this international group, like how it's all the policies and laws. So I thought it was really interesting and just like it opened my eyes to, um, I guess, behind the scenes a little bit of how things are really done.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much influence the United Nations had on our laws in our country. I didn't realize how closely intertwined they were. I thought that the United Nations was kind of their own entity, their own group, and they, kind of looked at things as world issues, and I didn't realize that they had influence to be able to eventually turn their policies and the things that they had decided on at that level and kind of end up eventually writing it into our law. And then with like the legal wording, I thought it was really interesting. They talked about things that were bracketed and how that would totally change the policy of whatever it was they were writing. And um, I can't think of like the exact examples for that, but I know that that was like a big deal in this book, was trying to take out certain brackets, because if you bracketed something, then that kind of changed almost the entire policy to be the opposite of what you wanted to get. So anyway, I think that that whole legal jargon is it's really important for us to have um, lawyers who understand all of that language and to be able to know how to make sure that the language is written in such a way that we're we're passing laws that we want to protect families and it's not doing the opposite. So I was really impressed with the different legal aspects of the people that he had working there during this UN convention, that they could read through it and they could understand, wait a minute, if that has, if you take the brackets off or you put them in, then that's going to change it. Or even like it seemed like commas and stuff could make a difference and just the wording. So anyway, that's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah,
No, I agree. Sorry. Go ahead, Paige.
I was just gonna say I thought that she made a good point about like that the UN kind of has a say or helps make decisions on certain laws or gives ideas. I had no idea about that. I guess I kind of just thought that our country dealt with our own laws and no one else did. So I was surprised by that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like what Susie said. How you, I didn't realize how much the wording would mean too. Just like, and how you said like the brackets and everything. I was like, okay, I wouldn't want to be the one that's reading over that because I don't know if I'd be able to catch all those little things that mean other things, you know. But I thought it was really interesting how. Well, I thought it was cool. I was like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could pick up
Yeah.
on those little words, but I'm not that good at English or anything. So, but
Well, it sounded like they really had to have like a team, you know, get the
yeah.
policy or get whatever was going to be voted on or whatever document it was, and they would take it back to the hotel room and they would go through it line by line by line. And it was a team of either law students or lawyers who would just dissect it. And I think that in that sense, if you had some kind of background in law, and then you had that team of people working, then you could be pretty effective in figuring out what was being said, what it meant, and how you could change it so that it would mean what you wanted, so it would have the result that you were looking for. And anyway, really, really interesting stuff. So.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me about, there's like some websites, if you like post certain things like for sale or just certain posts, that in order for people to know that it's like legitimate, you have to type a certain way or put certain symbols so people know it's real. So it almost kind of reminded me of something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So the second question was, what role did you see the Lord playing in Professor Wilkins' efforts to advocate for the families of the world? And I said that I think that the Lord helped keep Wilkins close to his own family, even when he was like super busy, and he was able to stay close to them instead of like drawing away from them, when it probably could have been really easy for him to stray from them. And he was also able to use like his faith to be a better advocate for the families that he was advocating for. And then I also think that the Lord was an advocate for himself in order to help Wilkins stick to his beliefs, whether it be his religion or not, and to stay passionate with his job, because it's a job that could probably really easily wear you out.
Yeah.
How about, what are your thoughts?
So I thought that, from reading the book, I feel like if you don't have an in with everybody, like, what is that group of women? I forget.
They called it the Women's Caucus, I think.
Okay, yeah, the Women's Caucus. So I feel like they controlled a lot of it, and so if you're not a part of that group or a group like that, you're not going to get a chance to speak. But I feel like, the Lord's hand was definitely in that conference for the professor, because he was able to speak at, that first night or that first little thing, and then he had to go in front of one of the committees or something.
Right. Yeah,
So
the
I think
one hearing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the Lord definitely helped him be an advocate, just because it would be so tough to, not just anybody off the street's going to be able to walk in there and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna be one of the people that gives one of the seminars or whatever, and then he just happened to get chosen for it. But that's kind of what I guess, that part of it. I did like what Paige said, he did, I liked that he relied on his wife a lot. And I think that by the wife being able to be strong and give him that courage, that also helped him continue on and not give up and feel so down, or when he couldn't write that paper in those 4 hours until he went and talked to his wife, just that encouragement. And I'm that kind of, no, honey, you're supposed to do that, and the Lord's going to be with you. And so, put my faith in my husband and the Lord to help him. If that makes any sense, hopefully it does.
Yeah, I saw a lot of doors opening for him that were obvious interventions from divine help. Like when he first showed up and he was signing in, and the woman that was just signing him in when he first got there and found out he was a professor of law, and then she asked where he was coming from, and he said the Kennedy Center instead of BYU. And I feel like if he had said BYU, it would have alerted her to the fact that he was just another Mormon there with, all of the other traditional family advocates and their organizations. and she wouldn't have necessarily respected him like she ended up respecting him. So I think she thought that when he said Kennedy, and he wasn't lying because the Kennedy Center was a part of the law school at BYU, but when she heard that, and he's from the United States, I'm sure she thought that he was from somewhere, like on the East Coast or something. Just, the name Kennedy is such a big deal in our country that I think she immediately thought that he was from some kind of, Ivy League school. And so she immediately asked him if he would be willing to speak, from the first time. And I thought that was like, oh, he got a foot in the door just by wording something a little differently. And then the other thing was when they met the man from Kenya. I wrote down his name actually, Johnson Mawara. And it turned out he was a member of the church, but he had been assigned by his country to choose the 10 speakers for that Committee 1. And obviously the Lord played a hand in that, was to have that particular man be the one that was assigned to have the speakers address Committee 1. And then, when he was trying to prepare his speech for Committee 1, like you said, he called his wife, and he needed her strength and her support. And I just think that's so beautiful. I think that kind of was a theme for that whole experience he had, was he was fighting for the family, but he had to do it with the partnership that he had with his wife. So I love that you brought that up, Paige. And it's not really something I even thought about, but I love that you brought that up. And so then he was, trying to figure out what to write, and with, getting some courage from his wife. And then he was getting bumped, because you remember the Women's Caucus, they took up all the first slots. Yeah. And it was timed, and so they took up all of his time, and by the end, he only had something like 3 minutes, and they weren't even going to give him his 3 minutes, but I can't remember what happened, but they let him go ahead and speak. But when he got up there, his speech was more powerful because it was quiet. He just got up there and he said something like, I feel children deserve the blessing of having a woman that dedicates her life to raising them, or something like that. Something really true, but spoken in such a soft way. And it was so opposite of what the Women's Caucus people were doing, just being, loud and, yelling and kind of demeaning other people because they didn't believe the way they believed, and, all this shouting and contention. And then he gets up there and just says a few sweet, quiet little sentences. But the Spirit was there. The Spirit was with him, and he ended up making the bigger impression. So, anyway, I was really impressed with how he handled that whole thing.
Yeah. I think that what you just said about how something so simple made a really big impression, it kind of links into my response for what lessons did you learn for your own efforts. Because I had put that small and simple things can open doors for bigger and better things. And I think that you explained it perfectly. And then I also put that I was able to learn more about the principles of the Family Proclamation through his experiences and how he was able to learn from it himself and then talk about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, your little blurb and then it just connected good.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what we learned,
right?
Oh, sorry. You can go.
Okay, so the lessons, or I guess the lesson that I learned, the biggest thing that stuck out to me the most, was just how much you have to be willing and ready to just go somewhere. He didn't want to go to this conference first, but he went, and I mean he was able to accomplish a great thing. But but just to always be willing and to be ready to go wherever the Lord's going to send you and be able to do His work. And then just my big thing is that I want to be able to be that kind of wife for my husband and a good mom for my family, and just being able to have a strong testimony and encourage my family members to speak up, be an advocate for the family, and speak up and stand up for it. But.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you guys, and I feel like those things also were things that I learned, like by little things, big things can happen, like what Paige said, and then also that you have to have the willingness, that the Lord will give you strength and the Lord will give you help, but the first thing you have to do is just say yes. You have to say, okay, I'll do it, even if it seems really scary or if it seems like it's too big of a job. Heavenly Father will step in and help as long as we have a willing heart. But the other thing that really impacted me, and I wrote this down too. He talked about, at the very end of the book, do you remember when he talked about going into the mosque and then he just had this overwhelming feeling of love for the Islamic people? Yeah. And then he had this overwhelming feeling of love for the Women's Caucus and had an understanding of where their frustration was coming from and where their contention was coming from. And then he had an overwhelming feeling of love for people that struggle with same-gender attraction. And so he was coming from a place of love and an understanding that Heavenly Father wants what's best for His children. And what's best for His children is families. And I think that that's what we need to keep in mind when we're fighting for these things, is that we're not fighting against anybody. We're fighting for everybody. And he kept the three things in mind that he just kept at the forefront of his mind was, are these policies life-giving, life-sustaining, and life-nurturing? And I loved that. And that if you think about the things that in your life and the people that you care about and the things that you want to happen, if you remember that everything you're trying to do is to give life and to sustain life and to nurture life, then that is a really good foundation to know that what you're fighting for is good and right for everybody, even if they disagree with you. It's good for them.
I thought that was really good, and also I had it in my head, but it just, if I remember, I'll bring it back up, okay. But I totally forgot. You want to just move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. Even though the book was largely about Richard Wilkins' experience, what important supporting roles did you see others playing in this account? And I think we've kind of brought up how his wife played an important role for him and how supportive she was and kind of gave him the confidence to keep going. And I also said that I think that the Lord played a big role in keeping him like true to what he believed in, to advocate for the different families, and even in his decision to go to the meeting, because he really didn't want to go, and then he realized that when he was like praying about it, that he was kind of praying so he wouldn't go, and then he just totally reworded everything, and then he got like the feeling that he should go. So I think that when he relied on the Lord for answers, it kind of helped him in supporting him and telling him what he needed to do. But I do think that his wife also played a huge role in supporting him and just making him feel like he can do what he's set out to do. He just has to like put his mind to it. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Paige. I think his wife did play a big role in him being able to continue through the conference like he wanted, or be able to be strong. But I also think that, like how Susie said earlier, just the group members that he had there with him, they played a big role in it too. Because I remember, like, I feel like there were several nights that they were up late, and I know it was the one lady that brought him. I can't remember her name.
I think it's Susan.
I think so too.
Is it Susan?
Yeah, I think so.
But they stayed up late. I mean, just writing papers or doing the research, just you know, trying to build a case for him to be able to go and present in front of the different committees. But I just think that without that team there that he had, he wouldn't have been able to do it on his own. So he needed them too. So
Yeah, I think.
I mentioned the one guy from Kenya before, but I think he played an important supporting role, you know, to make sure that Brother Wilkins actually had an opportunity to speak. But then the other person I thought was really helpful to him was, do you remember the part where the woman came and sat next to him and just kind of started rambling on about like how much influence UN policy has on society, and how it kind of it sneaks into society, and the influence that it has, because those ideas get translated into programs, and the programs generate money for countries, and so between the ideas and then the money, there's a huge influence. And then she kind of went on and talked about the history of some of the people that were there at the UN who had been students of a woman from Sweden who was extremely anti-traditional role for women. She thought that being a stay-at-home mom was oppressive to women and gave them fewer choices. She was really against that whole idea, and she felt like her philosophy was that the state should be able to control the family, and the state should be able to like run the daycare programs, and that women were more beneficial to the economy in whatever state or country they live in if they were in the workforce, and that they weren't of any benefit to the economy if they were stay-at-home moms. And so she was very, you know, kind of extreme in her ideas, but she understood that the way that her influence would really have the most impact was through teaching her ideas to students, to college students. And you see that a lot. I see it in colleges now, where there's these ideas that permeate. Now they're the professors in colleges other than BYU. And they have these ideas of very anti-traditional anything. Traditional family, traditional ideas on gender, traditional ideas on, you know, basic fundamentals when it comes to the family's role in society. And anyway, I think that woman played a key role in helping him understand the importance of the policies that he was going to be looking at and overseeing there at the UN.
Yeah, and so the next part of the question was, why is it important to recognize this? And I thought that, like, you were talking about how that woman kind of had extreme views, but she still let people know what she thought. And so I think that it's important to kind of hear everyone's ideas and everyone's perspectives, because for the most part, people just think one way, and without hearing other people's ideas, we don't really view things from other perspectives unless we like research it or read something about it. So I think hearing other people's ideas and perspectives is really important. And I thought it was important that he also listened to what all the different women kind of had to say, like his wife, and then I think we said her name was Susan that brought him there. Yeah, so I think for me it was perspective, that you're not really used to viewing things as that was important. What about you guys?
I think it's just important to recognize that, like, he didn't do it on his own. That he had a lot of help, and I don't know. After reading this book, I was like, I told my husband, I was like, I think it'd be so cool to go to one of those and be able to be a part of that, and have that kind of experience and be able to go stand up for the family. But then it's like you can't do it on your own. You need help. There's no way that one person could go and, I mean, do all the work that they did in their hotel late at night, and then be able to go and talk to everybody just by themselves. I think it's important to realize that it takes a team, and you kind of have to build up a team to be able to go fight for the family against, I mean, tons and tons of other people. But that's what I thought.
Yeah, I kind of am along the same lines. I like that Paige pointed out that getting different perspectives and kind of understanding the opposition is really, really important. And then what you said about having a team of people, and I just think about in my own life, if I have a hard job to tackle, like it can almost be fun if I get a group of women together to do it. If I get a group of people that, either are my friends or people that have the same ideas as me, and we get together and we tackle a job, it's way less intimidating if you feel like you have a support system around you to help you. So I think that it's really vital in anything that you're trying to accomplish that is a big deal to do it as a group. Not to mention when you get a lot of different people together, I think creativity becomes like brainstorming and being creative. It really helps you come up with better ideas rather than just being inside your own head trying to figure stuff out.
Right.
Yeah. I think that they had fun when when they're all staying up and doing the research and everything.
Right.
To them, I'm sure that's fun, so I don't know, having a team of people makes the hard work easier.
Yeah, and fun too, enjoyable. You can hang out and joke, and then when you feel like you've accomplished something, that's also a great feeling. To know that you worked together and you did something really hard, and you feel like, wow, we got this done. I think it can all be a really positive experience, even though it was hard. Obviously, it was hard what they were up against and lack of sleep and all that. But when you're doing it together, it just doesn't seem so bad.
That's how I look at. Yeah, growing up, we used to have to do a whole bunch of different chores at my grandpa's house, and it was always so much better when our cousins came and we all worked together, because it made the whole work fun, instead of just by yourself out there.
Right.
Anyways.
I think you're also able to realize who you can depend on to actually give you help.
Yeah, that's true.
You realize, who's the hardworking ones and who's the ones that aren't really doing anything. They're just there because they maybe have to be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
You figure out who your real friends are.
Exactly. So, what are some consequences and risks of minimizing or eliminating family and religion from public policy? And I thought that if you eliminate both of those things, that morals and values can kind of just be forgotten, because it's kind of like putting them to the side and people will just forget about them. And the family, which is the most important, isn't the center of attention anymore when maybe it probably should be. And I think, again, going back to my whole perspective thing, that different perspectives might not be looked upon, because a lot of people base their perspective on what they believe, which might have to do with what they believe in religion-wise. So if that is eliminated, then I think certain perspectives are also eliminated. And that's what I thought. How about you guys?
I think without family and religion, like, we'd be pretty screwed. Like, I feel like family holds our society together, and without families, um, shoot, I don't know what society would be like. But just, I mean, just how earlier someone said that, like, a family, even if the people that are fighting against family don't realize it, that, like, that's the most important thing for them. So without that, I mean, what really do we have? And I agree with you, Paige, what you said about how people, I think, based a lot of their choices off of what they believe in religion, and if we didn't have that, then we wouldn't have very many perspectives on different things. But that's kind of what I thought.
I think that, well, I remember a friend asking me once how I managed to have teenagers who weren't, doing all the other things that their friends were doing, like, drinking and experimenting with drugs and having sex before marriage and living pretty clean lives. She's like, how did you raise kids to respect that, to respect, those values? And one of my answers was that I helped my kids develop their own relationship with Heavenly Father and the Savior. And so they were answering to a higher power. And I think that that's kind of a common thing among society, is that if people feel like they're answering to a higher power, something beyond, this world, then it helps them to, monitor themselves a little bit more to make better choices. And I can't remember which class we were talking about how it was a talk that was written or given by D. Todd Christofferson, and he was talking about, if everyone lived in a way that was moral and upstanding, then we wouldn't really need the laws to enforce it. If gentlemen were gentlemen and treated women with respect, then we wouldn't need laws about sexual harassment. But unfortunately, we live in a fallen world, and the adversary is strong, and there are a lot of people who, don't live those basic moral kinds of moral beliefs and have those moral constraints, and so we have to have laws to protect people from. We have to have laws to protect us from one another. So I think that the laws are really important. And then with the whole family thing, what really just totally blows my mind is how, for decades now, there have been studies after studies after studies that talk about the risks that children face when they come from broken homes, or when they have unwed mothers, or how the crime goes up, and then all of this stuff that society ends up paying for when people aren't living the basic. They don't have the family as their foundation, and still people want to try and say that that's not the problem with society, when it really is. The core problem with society is that there are not enough moms and dads out there who love each other and love their kids and are doing their best to raise kids, because they've shown time and time again that that is the best place for children to be raised. And so, anyway, I just don't know how we can get that message out there and try and help people to try harder to have happy marriages, and try harder to stay together, and try harder to teach their kids values and how to live, because that's what's going to save us.
Yeah, I forget, I think it's one of my other family classes or one of my child ones, this week was about, like, ecology of teaching, but in every chapter it's been talking about like the effects that the home life have on the children and how important it is for the parents to be supportive and strong for themselves and for their kids and to be involved in their kids' life at home and at school. And I don't know, I feel like the information is out there, but not enough people are interested in like reading it or listening to it or I guess even caring about it. So it's just sad to think about in general.
Yeah.
And I think if people actually like realize that that is what is affecting us so negative today, that they might want to change something. But I think a lot of people don't want to think, oh, that's the reason why, you know, so many things are going on in the world, or just like how our society is. I think they try to like brush it off as like, oh, it's no big deal, but
it really is.
I think that people maybe recognize that the breakdown of the family is having a really bad effect on society, but they don't internalize it to mean that it's decisions that they have to make personally. They think, but it's okay if I get a divorce because I have better reasons for getting a divorce, and I will be happier if I get out of this miserable marriage, and if I'm happier, then my children will be happier. I'll be able to be a better mom. So I think that a lot of people justify their own choices, not realizing that their choices do have an effect on the entire society. We're all connected, and people don't want to believe that. They want to believe that they make their own choices for themselves, their own, what's best for them, and they rarely take into account how many other people it's affecting. Even their own kids. I see people get divorced all the time, and it's so damaging to their children, and they don't seem to put that as their priority. They seem to still put themselves as, and they justify it. They just justify what they've done because they think that if it was right for them, that it's going to be right for everybody, I guess. So.
Yeah, everything. It's like so self-centered, everything. And it's like, well, just because I chose that doesn't mean that it's going to affect anybody else. Like, it's my choice. My choices don't affect other people. It's just like, well, that's what I want. That's what I think's best for me. So everybody else is fine with it. Like, they don't think about others when it comes to it, or think that they have an effect on others, I guess.
Right. They don't want to believe that it will. But you know what? If you raise a child that doesn't have the things that they need, and they end up being a criminal or a drug dealer or whatever, they're affecting a lot of people. They're affecting their entire community.
Yep.
So the last question is, what do you think we can do about it? Does the author implicitly or explicitly make realistic suggestions for ordinary citizens as well as those in a position of power and influence? And then you give examples. And I said that I think that in some parts the author was kind of straightforward about it, and then in others it was there, but you almost had to read into it to make it relate to yourself, and then you could figure out how you could make it positively affect you. And then in other aspects, I think that Wilkins had good suggestions from like his experiences and how he relied on certain things to help him out. And like I said before, that people can because everyone has a different like home life or situation, and that they can kind of take the advice and then think about how they could use it best to suit them. And then I think my example that I thought of was how the proclamation was kind of brought up throughout the book, and that how he was able to understand it better himself through the different experiences, like going, having to pray to see if he should go to the conference far away or not, and to stay close to his family. and it doesn't have to be just about like your life. It could be about your work. It can be have to do with decisions that the law makes, being an advocate, and he was even like a bishop in the book, and he's a husband and a father, so he can kind of make it work in all aspects of his life, not just at home. What are your thoughts?
For sure.
So maybe I'm just blind. I didn't, I guess, pick up on any like specific things that she said that like we could do in our lives. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm missing it. But I don't know, reading the book, I told my husband, I was like, honey, I really, if I could, I was like, I would really like to go do something like this. I think it would be a lot of fun, and I think it would, like, I would enjoy being able to go and do that. So I guess for me, just reading it really motivated me, and it's like, man, I think this would be awesome to be able to do. Like, if I could do this, and if I had money that I could be able to travel to these other places to go to these conferences, then, man, I'd be doing it. But I guess the one thing I was kind of curious about is, like, so there was the girl, Susan, who introduced the professor and had him come. But I was like, okay, so how do you get to know a Susan? You know, that's good. That's gonna be able to take you there. How do you get your foot into the door? And I wish she would have in the book just kind of given a little bit. Maybe she did. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I totally overlooked it. But given some way of like, these are things that you could do to be able to move you in the right direction to become a part of this, or, you know, to be able to go to one of these conferences or something like that. Because I was more of just like, oh, I want to do this, I want to help with this, or just given things that I could do to help with those people that they're there at the conference.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think you're right, Shay, that he didn't really give any, I guess, I don't know if I'm getting the words mixed up, but explicit and, you know, suggestions about how to be an advocate or how to get involved. A lot of it was more implicit. You just kind of had to read through it and decide how you might be able to accomplish one of these different types of things. And I was the same as you. I was reading through this and I was like, oh, I would love to like go to one of these UN meetings, and even if I was setting up chairs, like I don't care. If I was greeting people at the door, like whatever, you know, I want to be able to go and see what's going on. And I think that one of the things we can do, and maybe you guys already did, but you can join the UFI, go to the UFI website, the United Families International website, and you can sign on to receive their emails. And you can write to, you know, the different people there. You can write different essays about these different threats to the family and send them into UFI, and they can publish them on their website. And that is a way to get your foot in the door and just kind of get to know the right people. And then our teacher, our instructor, actually, Sister Meeker, she is in the same ward with Brother Rarick, who is the one who developed this course, the Family Advocacy course, and he's really involved with United Families International. And so she actually talked to him about a week ago on Sunday about an article that I wrote for this class, and I emailed him and he's emailed me back, and so now I'm in direct contact with Brother Rarick to see, you know, where I might have a place to help. Like I said, even if it's just setting up chairs. But she also told me that the next big United International Families conference is in Salt Lake City, which is really not so hard for me to get to, and Shay, probably not so hard for you to get to either. So I want to go to that conference in Salt Lake and start to just kind of rub shoulders with some of these people and kind of get to know them. And, you know, as you get to know people and as they get to know you, then that's when it starts small, like what Paige was saying, like small and simple things. If they get to know you and you get to know them, and then they have a thought, hey, we need to have somebody in San Diego, that's where I live, that is going to show one of our delegates around San Diego and be like a tour guide to one of our international delegates or something. Susie lives in San Diego. I'll call her and see if she can do it. And then by these little ways of making connections and meeting people, then you can start to get involved at a more organized level. But then I think just as regular people, I think our Facebook posts are really important. I think we need to just go ahead and be courageous about sharing some of the information that we get from these classes, whether it be a YouTube video or an article that is talking about the importance of marriage, or there's been a couple of articles come through about how people can keep their marriage strong or whatever, and I try and repost things like that, to be an advocate for marriage. So I think that through social media, there's a lot of things that you can do and just get your voice out there. And then just talking to your friends, like you were saying, Shay, just talking to your immediate friends and saying, maybe helping a friend who's going through a tough time in a marriage and really encouraging her to stick it out. Just like things that are more on a personal level, I think, and actually have a more far-reaching influence. So I can't think of specific examples. I thought that was kind of a hard question, the specific examples thing. But I just think the organizations that are out there, like UFI, and then NGO, Family Voice, the World Family Policy Center. So those are some of the other different organizations that they mentioned. I haven't looked them up yet, but they would probably also be good organizations just to sign up to receive their alerts or whatever.
Yeah.
Brother Rarick, the one that runs the advocacy group or committee or something at BYUI.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He's part of.
He's in internships too.
He's what?
I want to say he does the internships too, right?
I think he provides some internships, maybe. I don't know. I was thinking, and this might be just me having some hopeful thinking, but I was wondering if I might be able to get involved with this conference next summer and count that as my internship. If there was stuff I could do online, or if there's, mailers that they put out. Yeah, that would be awesome if I could count that as an internship, but I don't know. So yeah,
I think
it's on the faculty board.
I just emailed somebody, and he emailed me, my counselor guy. He told me that I'm pretty sure it was Brother Rarick that he said that email him about internships.
Really?
So,
well, I think he's one of the. I don't think he's the department head for marriage and family studies, but
no, he does I thought he did the internships for him. I know he's one of the people that approves it or whatnot.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I bet he approves them.
Because I'm pretty sure it was him that sent me the email back with the page of what kind of things.
What to do. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's the child and family internships that they're kind of linked together.
Oh, right.
But I know there's one on there though that's the United Families International, and you can be an advocate for families for your internship in Salt Lake.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'll probably be looking into that. So.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw, I don't know if it was this class that the teacher posted it, or if it was in an email for that advocacy group that's at school, that there's also a Facebook page, I think. I joined
the Facebook page. Did you guys do that?
I haven't looked at it, but I had read that you can post different advocacy moments and stuff, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah. That is
Get it out there.
What's the Facebook page called?
Let's see. I think it was in the overview. for this week.
This week? Okay.
Oh, wait, no.
I know I saw it somewhere, but I
Yeah,
can't
it's not.
remember where.
Hmm.
That's all of the questions, right, though?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the end.
Okay. So I can go post our summary.
Okay. Cool. Hmm.
And Susie, are you good for next week too on Wednesday?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, because well, we were talking before. We're hoping that we're giving our speeches in this group and that she's not like reassigning us groups.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool
But
if we're giving our speeches to each other.
yeah, because I'm hoping that Wednesday works.
Okay.
I'm flying out on Thursday and won't be on a computer till Saturday night. So I'm hoping that Wednesday will work.
Okay. Yeah, it works for me. That's fine.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool.
Could
Is
that
that everything?
have been in an email?
What?
That we didn't find that